Day, January 7th, 2026.
Okay, so yesterday we're in Daniel Perek. We're up to Pasuk Chaf Ches. Now, just a quick background because we're in the middle of a Perek. Normally do the whole Perek, so now we're in the middle. Let's give a quick background. So Nebuchadnezzar, he had a dream. In the dream, it was a dream that he had this big statue. It was gold, it was silver, copper, bronze, right? And then suddenly at the end of the dream, there was a big rock that comes and knocks it over. And the way Daniel translated the dream, it meant that Nebuchadnezzar, which was the top, which was the head, which was gold, is going to end up falling down. So based on that, Nebuchadnezzar wasn't happy. And he knew that his kingdom was going to come to an end. So he decided he's going to build a big statue to counteract the dream. And the statue will be totally made out of gold. And that's what we had yesterday. And he said whoever doesn't bow down when the times of the shofar and then all the noise is going to be thrown in the fire. And Chananya, Mishael, Azarya, they did not bow down. And they didn't bow down. And we said that the Kazdoyim said Lashon Hara, they told Nebuchadnezzar that they didn't bow down. And Nebuchadnezzar said, that's it, we got thrown in the fire. So they made the fire, we said it was 7 times as hot. And it said, throw them in. And as they were throwing them in, the tongues of the fire were so hot that the people, the 4 executioners that were throwing them in, they got burned themselves, and Chananya, Mishael, Azarya ended up falling in, tied up. And then suddenly what happens is Nebuchadnezzar sees that in the fire that there's 4 people. He said, what's that? I threw 3 inside. And he realized that the 4th one was Gabriel. I mean, like we said yesterday, he recognized Gabriel because there was a story of Sancheriv when the 180,000 people were killed, and he was one of the 10 people that survived. He went ahead and he saw Gabriel, and he knew that I was a malach. And okay, so now, and he said he was just like off. He gives a shvach to Hashem. He recognized, right? He gave a shvach to Hashem. And before we get to the shvach, we'll just back a second. So it says that he saw 4 people walking around, and he's put in 3 tied people, because not only the nace was that they didn't get burnt, they were also their being tied up was untied, and also their hair didn't get singed, and the clothing didn't get smell. And okay, that's what we're up to now. So now, Pasuk Chaf Ches. So now, when he saw this miracle, he says, Baruch Alehehain Dishadach Meshach Avin Negoy. He says, wow, he gives a bracha to Hashem of Chananya, Mishael, Azarya, the Shalach Malchei, that Hashem sent a Malach, Mishizev Avdohi, and he saved his Avadim, the people who serve him, the people that relied on him, Aloi. Omilas Malka Shinav, and then the words of the Melech, they didn't listen. They listened to Hashem over Nebuchadnezzar. Yavu Geshmehoin, and they gave their bodies, and they didn't bow, they didn't prostrate themselves to any other god, only to their Hashem. So Nebuchadnezzar giving a praise and say, wow, Klal Yisrael, Hashem of Chananya, Azarya, how they sacrificed their own bodies and for Hashem, and then he was so impressed. He says, "Me naisim, for me, I'm going to put ta'im, a decree, the kol am uma lishan on every nation and language, that the Yomi Ashila, the Yomi Ashila Shalu that says bad alaheon on Hashem of the Shalach Meshach V'Azagai." So in other words, he's saying anyone who says bad against Klal Yisrael, the God of Chananya, Mishael, Azarya, that Adomin Yisavro Beisei Novle Yishtachaveh, which means we had earlier. He says it means that anyone who says bad against Hashem, they should be cut to pieces, and the house should be thrown in the garbage dump. That's the same exact lashon we had earlier when we had the dream. We had earlier when Nebuchadnezzar had the dream and he didn't know what it meant. He went to Khatum and he said, tell me the dream and tell me the translation. And if you don't, what do you say? What's going to happen? I'm going to cut you to pieces. I'm going to throw you in the garbage dump. Either way, in extreme happiness or extreme anger, whatever it is, or Nebuchadnezzar, that was his lashon. That's the way he did it. Okay. And he said, why am I doing this? Because there's no God that can save and do anything like this Hashem that can protect and do such a miracle, and you got thrown into hot fire and you can come out. Now the Gemara says, very interesting, the Gemara says when they threw them into the Kiddush Hashem, so the Malach of Hill and the Malach of that puts out fires said it's my job because I'm that Malach. So Malach Gabriel said no, I want to be the Malach that's to go ahead and do a nes b'seich nes. What was the nes? That in a fire that's very hot, it's gonna be cool inside by the Malach of fire. So that's why Malach Gabriel did the job. It also works out conveniently. This Nebuchadnezzar can recognize him, but anyways, okay. And then what's the next thing he does? And then by Dain Malk, in the meantime, Malka Hitzlach, he promoted Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego, promoted them to Medina Babel, and they became promoted. Now it's just interesting fact. This is the last time you're going to see their names in the entire Sefer Daniel. They're gone. Oh, really? That's it. That's the end of them. And what happened to them? So Chazal say that either they died from Ayin Hara because they were saved from such a miracle, or but either that's what other times that the Gemara says that maybe they went there to Israel. As I just noticed this morning, the Gemara Sanhedrin, the Gemara says, so where did Daniel? So the Gemara says Daniel Hechana. So where did he go? So Amarav Lamichra Nara Rabbat B'Tveria. Rav says Nebuchadnezzar sent him to dig rivers in Tveria. So he wasn't in town. That's another Gemara Sanhedrin. That's
during this whole ordeal.
He wasn't around. So because normally you have Daniel, Chananya, Azarya. So where's Daniel? So either he went to dig rivers in Tveria, or Shmuel says that he went to Asya Bizra, that Asfasa, he went to import Aspasa from Bavel. And Rabbi Yochanan says Asuya Chaziroi Lachzandra Chamatzrayim. Rabbi Yochanan says that he was sent on a mission to bring pigs from Achsandra Mitzrayim to Bavel, and that was his job. So whatever it was, he wasn't around during the story. So that's just interesting to know where he was and where they were. Anyways, otherwise he would have been part of the story. There's another Gemara in this also. Anyways, now once this happened, so then Nebuchadnezzar writes a letter. The letter is very interesting. That's the next few psukim, and then we're going to finish the parak. So the pasuk says, Nebuchadnezzar Malka. So he writes this from Nebuchadnezzar, from the king Nebuchadnezzar, Malach the king, Chol Ama, Umaya, Velishna, the Yarin Chol Ara Shamchen Yasge, which means he says from Nebuchadnezzar to all the kings and nations, the languages who live on the earth, and he says, may the peace should be Shamchen, may your peace be multiplied. Okay, that's the way he starts his letter. And what's interesting, the letter doesn't seem. It seems like a minute ago we just finished saying that he gave a decree, but the letter doesn't seem to say a decree. It just seems to be impressed. It just seems to be a shvach. It could be the end of Perek Daled. It might be a continuation to that. But let's just see. So it says like this: Asya, Mishaya, the Avad Ami Aliha, the signs and the wonders that Hashem did. Aliyah means like the supreme God has done for me. For me, what's for me? It means I saw such miracles in front of me. Okay. Right? And how beautiful for me is I want to tell you. Right? This lush of Karibaina.
Oh, really?
Okay. I don't know.
Yeah, look at the Shraki book there. You both.
Now, Vaita Soy Kameravim and he says how the signs and how great are these signs and these wonders the Kamatakif, how strong O Malchus Olam Dar and he says, he writes in the letter how that Hashem made these great signs, how mighty are his wonders, and his kingdom is everlasting, and for in dar for generation to generation. That's the letter he writes. Now it could be there's more to the letter, and it could be we'll have that later. But this is the way he starts it off. The interesting Gemara on this, I'm going to read the Gemara. The Gemara says in Sanhedrin. Okay, so let's just do a quick Gemara here. We still have a couple minutes. I just want to show you an interesting Gemara. So Gemara's like this: Tana Rabbana, B'Shah, Shehishbel, Nebuchadnezzar, Rasha, Chananya, Azarya, Kiddush Hashem. The time that Nebuchadnezzar through Chananya, Azarya, and the Kiddush Hashem, Amar Kadosh Baruch Hu leYecheskel. Hashem told Yecheskel, Leich v'Tzchaya Mesim Bikas Dura. Go to Tchias Mesim in Bikas Dura. Now, why in Bikas Dura? Bikas Dura is the place we had in the beginning where the statue was. But what else happened in Bikas Dura? So we said either that's where a lot of things. The Gemara brings down a lot of stories that happened. The Gemara actually brings down right before. The Gemara says earlier that Yochanan says that in Bikas Dura, what happened was when Nebuchadnezzar took the Kaisar from Golis and he brought them to Eretz Yisrael, and he brought them to Babel. So he had these captives, and what happened was the Kasdai ladies, they saw the captives and they they were so beautiful that they're like the sun, and the Kasdai rises sun, and so when the Kasdai ladies saw them, they became a Zavim. So they told the husbands, they told the Nebuchadnezzar, and they said, you have to kill them all. Where did this happen? It happened with Bikas Dura. And then, even when they were dead, they were still so beautiful. So the Gemara says, no, when they were dead, they were still really beautiful. So what happened was, they still became Zavis from looking at the dead bodies. So that's it. And Nebuchadnezzar said, you had to trample up their bodies. So now, the Gemara says, the Chias Mason that happened in Bikas Dura is these bodies. Or it means maybe the people that are from Ephraim that left 30 years early from Mitzrayim, or maybe the Gemara has a whole different idea of who these people are. Anyways, let's just go weiter. So Hashem told Yecheskel, now's the time to do Tchias HaMesim on these bodies. Now why? Okay, Ki Chayan son. Okay, what's that? So what happened? As they were making the idea of making Tchias HaMesim was to show that Hashem is in charge, not Nebuchadnezzar. So this is the opportunity. Now, what happened? So the Gemara says that the Nebuchadnezzar had a cup, and the cup was made out of bones of mason. So he's drinking from his coffee one morning, and suddenly his coffee starts waking up for Tchias HaMesim. He says, what's going on here? Why is Tchias HaMesim happening here? So Amar Chaverim, they said, he says, Hashem is doing Tchias HaMesim on the bones of Bikas Dura. So then that's this passage. And then Pasuk of Amar, so then he starts singing the Shvach that we just did. He said, Esoi kamer vavim, Simoi kamer tkifim, Umachos hey, Umachos alam, Shatanem dar dar. That's the passage we just read. And then what happened? Amar Yitzchak, Yutzak Zav, Rusach Sechpev, Shal Sharasha. The said they should put like hot gold in his mouth. Why? If a malach came and hit him across the face, if a malach wouldn't have came and hit him across the face to stop him from saying shira, because legana is called shira, which tell him. I don't know if it said this Gemara, but basically the Gemara is saying is that if the malach went ahead and said stop singing shira, if he wouldn't have stopped him, he would have somehow been able to uproot all the shiras that David said to him. He has a shot. I don't really have a shot, but it's just they bring the kutzker on the bottom here, a very interesting shot in the idea. He says, "Why did he slap across the face? Like why stop him? He's allowed to say shira. Why?" He said because David Melch wrote to him what was the tsar and pain. He's running from Shaul, right? The whole story. So let's give Nebuchadnezzar a little test. Let's give him a little patch. Let's see if he can sing shira with a little pain. What happens? Give him a little patch. Done. It's the end of his shira. So he got tested. Shaul David Melch wrote to him. He did with tests and with trials, and tribulations. And it's just one quick Gemara, one more Gemara. The day of the story with the Tzelem, right? And Azarya, 6 days to happen. What happened? First of all, so the way it was is just to understand. Imagine there was a pit of fire, and the idea was they fell into the fire. So Hashem, when he wanted to make the miracle, he rose up to the ground level. So everyone should be able to see that they're in the fire. Right. So first of all, Tzafa Kivshan, the Kivshan rose up, and V'nifrat Kivshan, also that in the Kivshan there was a cement wall to keep the fire contained. So that was breached, so everyone could see inside. Right. That also happened. And then the foundation caved in. It seems like the floor. Seems like the floor disintegrated. I'm not sure what was the significance of that. What else happened? The Tzelem and Nebuchadnezzar collapsed, fell over. And the four royals that came to do the job to throw them in the fire, they were burnt. Now we had a whole discussion, me and Yaakov Biederman, of how many people it really was. So for sure it's 4. Rashi seems like there's also the helpers. Somehow there's Chazal, I'm not sure about bringing down that maybe it was 8 altogether. Whatever it was, those people, they died. And also, and the last one, Cheskel is Tchias HaMesim Bikas Dura. And also, Cheskel did Tchias HaMesim that day in Bikas Dura. What? Right. And the Gemara brings Azarya, like I told you, because beginning, it shows that there were 7 people, and now and the pasuk later only shows 3. So where did the other 4 go? It must be those are the 4 that were killed. And just one last thing, the Gemara here, very interesting. Gemara says over here, Tanya Beleza B'Yaka, I feel b'shas sakana. Even during the time of sakana, liyashana adam et tzatzavayis ben arbana shalai. A person shouldn't abandon his dignity. And we learn from the pasuk here that says when they threw in the fire, they with their clothing and they were bound up. Because even in the last minute, the person should always be dignified. And like we had during the war, it's very interesting. During the war, there were people who didn't want to sleep in pajamas. They said that they never know when they get round up. They want to go in dignity. And you see from this Gemara, they're thrown in the fire with their clothing. With their clothing. Okay, that's the end of the Perek Gimel. And there's a lot more to say. I think we'll stop here. Anyways, that's the end of Perek Gimel. And tomorrow we'll start Perek Daled. Tzachar Rabbah.
Thank you.